Bro, is this bait? Or is she
Well, it would take
actually leaving?
2 men to do the job of 1 woman. That is guaranteed why they hired 2 of them. Dave Filoni will oversee creative development.
It's another one of these videos, ladies and gents. Only this time, after so many years, it might actually be real. According to Puck's Matt Baloney, over the next 2 weeks, Disney will
Bro's got the goofiest name ever. Matt Baloney? Matt Baloney, bro. What the fuck?
make official what's been an open secret for quite some time now. Kathleen Kennedy is leaving her position as president of Lucasfilm, with Dave Filoni set to take over the throne. This is
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
going to be quite controversial. I'm going to give my opinion. Filoni, the current CCO of the Star Wars operation, has long
All the feminists be like,
I just lost my dog.
been appointed as her heir apparent, and because he hasn't exactly ever fit the mold of a studio exec, Lucasfilm will pair him with Lin-Wen Brennan, the company's president and GM on the business side. Still, make no mistake, Filoni will be the head honcho of the franchise's creative future, overseeing Star Wars across film and television. Now, if you were to tell me this, like 3-4 years ago, a major Dave Filoni fan, I would have been jumping for joy. With his latest projects that have come out, essentially the projects that have come out under Lucasfilm, such as The Acolyte, such as Mando Season 3, such as Tales of the Empire, such as Kenobi, my trust in him has grown shaken. Now, what does this mean? Were those projects even having anything to do with Dave? Some of them not necessarily.
yeah,
no,
not gonna
but
lie, yeah, he's been making some bullshit recently. Just kind of disappointing, but overall, I think he's better than Kennedy, bro.
thought process was, well, he is the CCO, which means he has quite a bit of leverage there. But I guess maybe not enough. But what he did have control over was the Ahsoka show, which I thought some episodes were compelling. You guys know my opinion on that. The end of the season was, in my opinion, really lackluster. The whole idea of making Sabine Force sensitive. I digress. What I'm hopeful for is that now that Kathleen Kennedy will hopefully be out, that there will be no more excuse from either side of the fandom, including myself, to either blame Dave Filoni or to not blame Dave Filoni, because there will be nobody tying his hands. He is going to be the head honcho. He is going to be in full power mode. And when
Yep. He's got unlimited power now. Let's see what he does with it. Hopefully it's not bad. Because if it's bad, the fans are going to have his ass. And then everybody's going to be like,
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I was reacting to this a few days ago on stream on my second channel, Theories Arcade. A lot of you guys were asking me to react to this, and so I pulled up one of the videos that popped
what is this?
I'm gonna come.
Oh.
up. Check out this clip. Star Wars is saved.
It finally happened. Disney, after allowing
103,000 in 6 hours. Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy to completely tank the brand, turn Star Wars into an absolute joke, they have finally decided they will fire her and replace her with Dave Filoni
Finally!
I'm gonna come.
and Lou Brennan. They are saying, well, it would take 2 men to do the job of 1 woman. that is guaranteed why they hired 2 of them. Dave Filoni will oversee creative development.
I think they realize something from this interview here.
What is your leadership style? Are you,
Here we go.
you more Darth Vader or Admiral Akbar?
Well, to be very honest with you, I don't do anything. I basically make movies. I'm not really one to run businesses.
Here.
So I turn it over to other people, and then I kind of oversee it. I would say I'm the gentle giant. I don't get pissed off very often. I don't do a lot of hands-on stuff. I let everybody else do it, as opposed to movies where I'm sort of a micromanager.
Do you watch?
This is what George originally was doing, and maybe Dave Filoni has pitched that. Maybe he's like, look, I don't want to have to divide my efforts and my time to balance the financial side of things, the business side of things. I just want to focus full force on the creative aspect of Star Wars.
As he should.
I hope that that is what's happening. I hope they're going to take a more George Lucas approach. I hope after this 14 years of mistake after mistake at Lucasfilm, save for maybe a couple projects such as The Mandalorian or whatever, that they've really learned from their mistakes. They've learned how to not berate their audience if something flops. We're not all sexist and racist people over here. We just want good Star Wars. So maybe now that he has his undivided attention on just making stories and no more Kathleen coming in being like, hey, maybe you should make Sabine Force sensitive. And he's going to be like, what? Unless that was his idea, then psh. But the thing is, we don't fully know.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with the MCU. When they were making good stuff, nobody was complaining. Or the vast majority of people weren't complaining how their stuff was dog shit and that the politics shouldn't be in there. Because the politics weren't in there. And then they put the politics in there, and now everybody doesn't like it. And now they call them racist. And it's like, okay, but you made an objectively worse product. What do you expect people to react like? If something is worse, you need to figure out why it's worse. And if it's because you're putting all your fucking messaging in there that no one cares about except for the people that don't watch the shows or the movies, maybe that's why people are complaining.
And while I can sit here and try to pick a side and be like, well, yeah, Dave Filoni was the protege of George Lucas and he knows exactly what he's doing and he's going to honor George Lucas, well, he hasn't in some of the things that he's done. But can I go as far as saying, well, he is to blame for everything that is the Acolyte and the sequel trilogy? I can't really say that either because we know Kathleen Kennedy was the one that was in full power. But now, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, we will know if something flops, if anything misses a beat and is not Star Wars and has been anything like it has been for the last 15 whatever years.
I'm not gonna lie, chat. I just saw like a Razor scooter just roll down the hill by itself with no one on it. Like it was rolling down the hill right outside my window on two wheels with no one on it. And I don't see anyone out the window. It was just by itself. Like, what the fuck happened?
Then we know that Dave has strayed too far away from what George trained him to be. And to me, that leaves another. There is another. Jon Favreau. I believe with Dave Filoni in full power and Jon Favreau at his side, no more Lizzo Jack Black bullshit. Take it back to basics, boys. Take it back to George Lucas era. No more Vespa bullshit scenes.
Okay, but weren't they both in charge of those shows as well? Like, I get the Kennedy of it all, but I mean, ultimately, shouldn't they have a say in what happens in their shows more than the director of the company does? Because she's just in charge of greenlighting stuff, right? Like, as it's been for the last, well, since 2012, since she's been the CEO. She's in charge of greenlighting stuff. She's not in charge of the creative, or she shouldn't be at least, right?
No more making Beta Fett. Let's make some masculine heroes again in Star Wars. Let's make some awesome powerful female characters, actual powerful female characters, not powerful female characters.
She's a powerful leader. Yes. Like Star Wars is very like patriarchal.
Somebody has to save our skins.
Bro, this was the first movie.
Really good stories.
That was the first movie.
Stories.
George Lucas even told Leia that she is smarter than the guys. In 77. Well, before that. I don't know when the movie was filmed, but that's when the movie came out. In 77, he told Carrie Fisher that her character is supposed to be more intelligent and more capable than the men. And y'all are acting like this is like a new message that like women could be strong and capable leaders. Get the fuck out of here. We've known this since 77. There's some assholes that aren't gonna accept that. But we've known this messaging, we've been fed this messaging since 77, and we're not complaining about it until you fucking shove it down our throats for no reason.
That hit the soul and make you feel.
We've known this shit before I was born. Like 30 years before I was born.
The character is going through, regardless of gender or sex or whatever, race. Since they're so fixated on that, make a great story. I guarantee you nobody's going to be fixated on any of that shit. Guarantee. So, with Kathleen stepping down, I'm not jumping for joy because the last few years have just been utter garbage at Lucasfilm. And I know Dave has been in a higher position, and maybe he had the power to be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Well, if that's the case, I mean, Dave, what do you have to say about that, man? Why would you let that happen? So at this point, am I jumping for joy? Not necessarily. I am still skeptical, but I'm waiting to see, because if there's any sort of bump in the road, Dave Filoni is going to be the one to blame. And if something's going to be freaking amazing, Dave Filoni is going to be the one to praise. Let's read some of the comments, shall we? Kathleen Kennedy is becoming an inhuman boogeyman among many, and I'll admit that she's produced a lot of bad Star Wars, but I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so I'll instead focus on her part in giving us Rogue One and Andor. Blind squirrel, broken clock, and all that. Throw enough shit at the wall, and sooner or later some of it will stick. Doesn't...
Okay, but... the only reason that those projects got made is because she gave up her control on those two things. She was like, yeah, sure. Do that if you want to. And because she didn't have any say in what happens in the movies and TV show, they were good.
Change the fact that most of the Lucasfilm decisions under her
It's
leadership
that simple.
were utter failures. Both solid points. Probably because she is an inhuman boogeyman. Rogue One and Andor, though, those succeeded in spite of her, not because of her. They have been teasing... See, this kind of back and forth is something that we will never have to deal with again, because there is never going to be someone over Dave Filoni. Kathleen Kennedy wasn't creating stories like Dave will be doing. She was handling more so of the agenda pushing, more so of... honestly, I keep stuttering on that thought. I don't really even know what producing, making bad decisions, handing the wrong people the keys. I told you guys how Rian Johnson got the movie for 8. He came in to do his own trilogy, nothing to do with the Skywalkers, and she's like, well, why don't you do 8? This is perfect. And he's like, okay, well, do I just still get to do my trilogy? She's like, yeah, you can do it after. She literally gave him the key. Literally. He told Mark Fernandez when he was doing an interview for Collider, he's like, yeah, she just let me have it. All right. They have been teasing this wonderful, albeit speculative news for a long time. Believe it when I see it. She should have been replaced a long time ago, says Jones, after ruining both Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Why it took Disney that long? Maybe it's because Disney liked what she was doing. I know Disney supposedly has films that guys like, but as Marvin Montanero pointed out, it wasn't that long ago that Marvel and Lucasfilm were cultural staples for men and boys. Fathers brought their sons to Iron Man and The Force Awakens with the same sense of excitement that earlier generations had for Indiana Jones or The Empire Strikes Back. But in the Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and Kathleen Kennedy era, Disney's approach shifted dramatically. Superheroes and Jedi were reimagined, reshaped, and in many cases sidelined as the studio rebranded its most valuable franchises to appeal to female audiences instead. That wasn't a small adjustment. It was a company-wide strategy. Captain Marvel was positioned as the face of Marvel. Luke Skywalker was dismantled to make way for Rey.
Yeah.
A longtime male fan favorites were often written off as outdated or worse, problematic. Very true. Even Disney's Indiana Jones ends up needing a woman to save him. As someone pointed out to me regarding Disney, they took boy brands that some girls liked and turned them into girl brands that no one likes. Disney has made tons of movies for girls. Did they have to turn ones that guys liked into girl brands too? I used to like Disney movies. Facts, bro. In the 90s and even early 2000s, Disney movies were pretty awesome. And I still like some of the modern ones. But to quote Jordan Rumi, Disney is developing a Snow White spin-off. This one's about Prince Charming. The character will be depicted as a bumbling idiot. Well said. The Star Wars sequel movies were bad, but maybe $4 billion among them. This is not a failure to Disney. And that's really the issue, and that's a great point to make, is that this is not a failure to Disney because they only see numbers. The only reason they see $4 billion is because of their piggybacking off of George Lucas's hard, painstaking work of blood, sweat, and tears. Research how George made Star Wars and all of the perils that he went through, all of the trials and tribulations that he had to go through to make the first film, and then the smart business.
This guy said, I wish Filoni the best, but honestly, I would rather it be someone from the outside with a fresh perspective and who hasn't already been involved in duds. I mean, yeah, just like find someone who's passionate about it, but at as good at storytelling as Tony Gilroy. That's really all we need.
Business decisions that he made in order to get the second and third done. I wish Filoni the best, but honestly, I would rather it be someone from the outside with a fresh perspective and who hasn't already been involved in duds. Tough job in a tough industry. I don't share the vitriol some people have for Kennedy, for it's pretty clear she was in over her head. Then she shouldn't have taken the job. She's not in over her head, bro. She could have taken 2 seconds to be like, all right, what would George want? And literally she knew what he wanted because he was telling her, and she decided to buddy up with Bob Iger, and they did their own thing. George was literally there in the beginning giving them treatments for how they should handle the franchise, for what they should do going forwards, and they chose to literally, deliberately say no and do their own crap, to the point where you have every time now that Star Wars comes up in front of George Lucas in an interview, he says, I'm done with it. They went and they did their own thing with it. The first 6 films are mine. What does that tell you? He put her in charge. She betrayed him. Star Wars has no source material. We don't have comic books. We don't have... What? I mean, a 6-year-old could tell you that Star Wars has comics and books and video games. The own president of Lucasfilm, who was apparently buddy-buddy with George, who got appointed this job, can't tell you that.
Yeah.
Says we don't have that. She wasn't in over her head. She just wasn't using her head. I wish it was Favreau, but here's hoping he turns things around. Yeah, I think... And the thing with Favreau is, like, I was really gunning for the guy. But when he released Boba and, Mando 3, I was like, bro, what the heck happened to you? He was Thor, man. And then he turned into Fat Thor, who literally lost his... It's like this, like Disney likes to go with this whole idea of, like Thor was a jacked, heroic dude and then becomes fat and disillusioned and just, like, doesn't care anymore. Luke Skywalker runs away, doesn't care anymore, cuts off his powers. It's a way of, like, cutting off his manhood, cutting off his ability. Why? Then you got Boba Fett doing the same thing. You got Obi-Wan doing the same thing. What the hell is going on here? He can't turn things around because, unfortunately, his job is dependent on respecting the sequels and treating them as they matter. The only way to fix Star Wars is to burn down everything KK built, and he won't do that. You know, that's a great point. And if they do abolish the sequels, retcon the sequels, then they're in a step in the right direction. And I used to think, no, we shouldn't do that. We should just move forwards and blah, blah, blah. But no. The only way now is to start anew. Being in over her head does not excuse some of the absolute dog mess that she has produced.
I just wish we could... Like, I know that the George Lucas sequel stuff sounded kind of boring, but I still feel like it would be more interesting than things that we got, bro.
Under her leadership, along with personal views
like,
that she's
the
expressed.
Only decent one of the sequel trilogy was The Force Awakens, and that was the one that they had the most time to work on.
In interviews, stop making excuses for these people. Yeah, exactly. Kennedy was a business person. She let the creatives run amok. The results were good when the creatives were good, but mostly bad because talented creatives were sadly... Listen, Andor was great in the second season, but let's get something straight. Star Wars is about the Force. It's about Jedi and Sith. That is Star Wars. It is about family drama. That is what Star Wars is about. It is about the Force. It is lightsabers. It is Jedi. It is Sith. It's not space battles, and Dave Filoni has even gone on record to say that. Exactly what I'm saying. It's frustrating to me when you have weekend fans that come in and they try to tell you what Star Wars is when you've been living and breathing and watching the man who created Star Wars and his disciples explain Star Wars. It will always be a poisoned chalice no matter who's in charge. They have fogged Star Wars to death. It needs a break, but anyone has to be better than KK. She was not the right gal for this at all. She was not the right person. Dave Filoni and a no-name woman, they are never going to let a white man run Star Wars alone again, aren't they? You know, I disagree with this, you know, and I truly do think that this is the right move. I think to get Dave Filoni to take over Kathleen's job would be a major mistake because Dave is not a business guy. He is got to be focused on creative shit, and he's got to do it how he wants to do it, which I hope is how George trained him. And I hope he does not deviate from that, to take it and run it and run with it and do his own little thing. You have to respect George and do stories the way he would do them. For the most part, he wanted Ahsoka to die before the Revenge of the Sith, but she didn't. I think she should have. Yes, J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens hits $2 billion at the box office in 2015. Well, you could have peeled an egg when you were bringing Star Wars back after Revenge of the Sith, and I guarantee you, until people saw the film, the ticket sales would still have rung in. You can't really refund a movie ticket sale. Well, you can, but how many people did that? But then came its sequel, The Last Jedi, which has earned $1.3 billion, much of it due to fans tuning out because of the liberties of its filmmaker, Rian Johnson. And the only reason it made anything over $1 billion was because it was the movie where we were hoping to see Luke Skywalker, which we should have seen him in The Return of Star Wars in Episode 7. But they wanted to make a cliffhanger, literally. The trilogy capper, The Rise of Skywalker, did even less, earning $1 billion, which was 50% less than The Force Awakens. Which I would guarantee you probably like 95% of all of these
badly
numbers.
The Last Jedi would have done if, God forbid, Mark Hamill had died before The Last Jedi started filming because they decided to wait. That would have been so horrible.
We're just piggybacking off of what George created with the first 6 movies. People wanted to see how it was going to end, how Disney was going to end it with either a train wreck or whatever. They still cared. If anything, the best Star Wars movie released during Kennedy's tenure, an opinion that seems to be the consensus among the fan base, was Gareth Edwards' Rogue One. Yeah, that was fine. Tony Gilroy was brought in for heavy reshoots after Edwards' initial cut reportedly didn't meet Disney's tonal expectations. I liked Rogue One. Kennedy now leaves 7 Star Wars movies in development hell from directors Filoni, Simon Kinberg, James Mangold, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Donald Glover, Taika Waititi, and
I don't know. I feel like we get the gist of it. Hopefully it just gets better, bro. Please just get better. Like, please just, like, he knows what people want, most likely. That's all, is that I have trust that he knows and he understands the fan base, at least. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna go take a fucking nap. I am so tired.